she was behaving real 15 years old for someone who's like 18 going to college. Like I would have figured out a way to like destroy something that she loved. She's a fucking bitch.
The younger sibling.
Hello, Internet, and welcome to Only Lovers Book Club. We are three Latinx besties who read romance every month, and we take turns picking what we're gonna read. This month, it was my turn, so I picked the Breakup lists. Look at this cutie little cover. I'm very excited to talk to Chris and Andre about this because we love the author. He's a fave among the lovers, so we're very excited. I think. Well, I'm very excited. I hope you two are very excited to answer some questions about the book. Okay, so what we're wearing, what we're drinking, little bit of info on what's going on here. I'm wearing a really old t-shirt that has the entire armpit ripped out on the left side. And it belonged to my sister when she was in high school, so this is my version of doing a throwback. And that's about it. I don't have anything else going on. Chris, do you want to tell the internet what you're wearing, what you're drinking, if you got anything fun going on?
Hello, internet. Before we hit record, or before we went live with the intro, me and Andrea were expounding the beauty of Tashai's beachy curls. So if you are listening to this and not on YouTube, just hop on over to YouTube and go watch it and give it a like so that you can just bask in her glorious beach wave energy. I, however, am trying to channel my middle/high school self by wearing clothes that I still wear to this day. So I have like this big oversized tie-dye shirt. I have like this like chunky little star necklace. It's like on those little elastic things. And this should be candy, but it's not, which I think is a cruel injustice. And I have some like more colorful stuff on me. The Casio that I got from Shaka a long time ago, but it's just like the Casio I wore in high school, except it was Garfield themed, and then someone stole it out of my locker during volleyball practice, which was annoying. And I've got a little bit of lip gloss. I put on my Pokemon lip gloss. My background is like a high school quad, you know, and I'm just ready to remember all my extracurriculars and talk about this super cute book. Oh, and I'm having the very first Baja Blast I'm having in this new apartment. So went on and got some Taco Bell and got myself a Baja Blast, ready to rock and roll.
Well, my background is like a high school theater auditorium. You know, this rooms are always multi-purpose kind of room. And I was actually a theater kid. Well, or not so much. I didn't do like theater productions, but I wrote monologues and competed with them. Something called oratoria in PR, and I was really good. One every year. But I was still like not as free with myself as I am now. So definitely always had my hair straightened, would have never worn a gay shirt ever. So this is what teenage Drea could have looked like in an alternate universe. And I'm bringing her back, but I certainly was not looking like this when I was doing my performances in high school, which was thankfully before social media. It was fun to read this book, but also like, oh my gosh, how much worse. Like every time I read a book that involves something I used to do in high school, it's like, wow. Like things could have been way worse for me if people had like phones and apps. So, and although of course for our main character it's good because, you know, he can text. No texting for young Drea, Chris, and Tashai, unless you're willing to press the same button 7 times to get the letter you wanted.
You memorize like with your eyes closed, just like
yeah. It was, oh my gosh, what do you say it's so long?
3 1 1 2 2 3 4 3.
I know. I think about like the paragraphs that I text you all now, and I'm like, this would have, if we had been friends in high school, we wouldn't have been able to talk like this.
That's when you pass the handwritten notes. Chris and I used to talk to each other in Pig Latin and in English, so there was 2 layers of security for our note passing.
Yes, and our parents were sick of us. Our parents were so tired of us, like not racking up the bill, but just like hogging the line.
Whatever. Okay. yeah, reading about high school is really funny because I didn't really have extracurriculars. I was like in volleyball, but not good at it. I just like was in it for a bit, and then we did the talent show, and that's it. But my school had no extracurriculars because it was a stupid, tiny, private, semi-religious school. So I didn't get to do theater, even though I probably would have had a really
Yeah,
good
I mean,
time
now
doing
that I
it.
think about it, like I said it very like, oh yeah, I used to do like oratoria and compete with my monologues. I didn't do like theater performances. But now that I think about it, I don't think my school ever put on a theater like you're right. I don't think that was an extracurricular like possibility at my school.
It's like y'all can compete in like sports and then váyanse de la escuela. Like get out of here.
Yeah, but it's also I think in general like PR budgets are not the same as the US budgets with their sweet tax monies.
Oh, triggering. Okay, moving on from Puerto Rico's poorly funded educational system. We'll pick that pin up throughout the lifetime of our book club. Let's find out a little bit about the book. Drea, can you do us the honor of telling us what this book is about?
Yes. Love is more complicated than Boy Meets Boy, and best-selling author Adib Khorram's sharply funny new romantic comedy set in the sordid world of high school theater. Jackson Ghaznavi is a lot of things: a techie, a smoothie aficionado, a totally not obsessive list maker. But one thing he's not is a romantic. And why would he be? He's already had a front row seat to his parents' divorce and picked up the pieces of his sister Jasmine's broken heart one too many times. No, Jackson is perfectly happy living life behind the scenes. He is a stage manager after all, and keeping his romantic exploits limited to the breakup list he makes for Jasmine, which chronicle every flaw, real or imagined, of her various and sundry exes. Enter the senior swim captain turned leading man that neither of the Ghaznavi siblings stop thinking about. Not that Jackson has a crush, of course. Jasmine is already setting her sights on him, and he's probably, no, definitely straight anyway. So why does the idea of eventually writing a breakup list for him feel so impossible?
Got thoughts about Jasmine.
I read that, and yes, I have some thoughts.
Okay.
Let me tell you a little bit about the author. Adib Khorram is a queer Iranian American author. He was born and raised in Kansas City, Missouri. A theater kid in high school, he went on to study design and technical theater at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, with an emphasis in lighting design, and spent several years in the event production industry. His first novel, Darius the Great Is Not Okay, was published in 2018 by Dial Books for Young Readers, an imprint of Penguin Random House, and won YALSA's William C. Morris Award for Best Debut Author, Writing for Teens, the Asian Pacific American Literature Association's Young Adult Award, and a Boston Globe Horn Book Award honor, among other accolades. A companion novel, Darius the Great Deserves Better, was published in August 2020 to critical acclaim. It became an instant indie bestseller and received a Stonewall honor. His picture book debut, Seven Special Somethings, a Nowruz story illustrated by Zainab Fadihi, was published in spring 2021. His latest novel, Kiss and Tell, received 4-starred reviews. When he's not writing, he enjoys yoga, figure skating, electric guitar, food, wine, tea, board games, and explaining to people why Kansas has the best barbecue. This is from the Adib Khorram's website, the bio section, and there's interesting facts. It says, interesting facts about me. I drink 1 to 5 cups of tea a day, and though I'm not sure I really like coffee, every so often I will sip an espresso. 2, I made eye contact with Harrison Ford. We nodded at each other. 3, I'm allergic to sesame seeds. Oh, tragic. 4, I make amazing macaroni and cheese. And 5, I like the number 5.
I love him.
It's really funny.
I love him. He seems like a person who's a really good hugger. Like this is what I get from that.
That's why, okay. It's gonna sound kind of weird, but yeah, like I love him. I love his books. I love his characters. I love his romances. And that's why I'm like so nervous about reading his adult debut because we've never read a sex scene from him. And it's like, what if we have like all these like high, like we have him up here on a pedestal, and then what if he can't write sexy times?
Here's the thing is I don't need Adib to scratch my sexy reading itch. He scratches so many other itches for me in my soul that even if his writing goes fade to black, I'm okay with that. I bask in his presence. I'd be happy to just read his grocery list.
Yeah, and I feel pretty good about one way or the other, because I do feel like he's got this way to talk about like intimacy and sexuality in a way that is not necessarily on the page, but it's still really pretty. And I have read some like really hot fade to black scenes, and I'm sure, I mean, we'll see, we'll have to see, but I feel pretty confident that we will enjoy it whenever we get around to it.
On Andrea's possibles list for next year.
That's your book, is the possible.
Well, the problem is, okay, Adib is coming up with an adult one, and Sonora Reyes is coming out with an adult one.
I see.
And I love both of them, but I feel like I can't pick both. You know what I mean? I gotta pick.
But like, I can pick one for you. I haven't thought of any future picks, so
let's go. Let's shine. Let's
Okay, but so why did I pick this book? We've just spent the last like 3 minutes talking about Adib. That's why I picked this book. I'm like, there's another one. Oh yay! And it's about breakups. I'm picking this. We're reading this for book club. Yeah, there was no hesitation in my mind. As soon as I saw that this book was going to be available in time for one of our reads this year, I wanted to pick it. His like writing makes me so just like emotional. And I thought that this would probably be much lighter than like the Darius books, because those I was like, good in a good way, in like the best way. So I hope that, you know, you internet watchers and listeners and audience members out there give this book and give his other books a chance, because it's like some good quality stuff. Okay. Spoiler alert, officially. Pew, 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 pew. Stop reading. I mean, stop watching if you haven't read the book yet. Pause it, go read, come back. But don't forget us. Leave a tab open. Download stuff if you have to download it. Keeping the tab open will help your computer not freeze. Okay, so first impressions. We know overall what the book is about. A guy, a girl, another guy, a play, a bunch of lists, too many smoothies. Overall impressions. How did you guys, what did you walk away with after having read this book? Either one of you can go, and then that'll be the order going henceforth.
Too late now. Okay. Okay, so yeah, I agree with you. I did expect this to be lighter, and it was lighter. So expectations met, not in a bad way. I think the book is also very upfront. It's like, this is a rom-com kind of situation, which obviously like Darius was not. I really enjoyed the theater parts of it. I can tell Adib knew his way around like the backstage of an auditorium. So I really enjoyed it. I like the concept of like the siblings liking the same person. Just because I've always wondered like what would, you know, like me and my sister never had crushes on the same person. Tashai's eyes tell me maybe she's experienced that more firsthand. But I was intrigued by it. Did I end up loving it? No, but I went into it intrigued by it. And that's like a me personal thing. Like, I think a lot of people will love this book more than I loved it. And that's just me, a personal thing. Some things I know impacted my experience were that I listened to it on audio because that's the only format my library had. And so the constant crossing out got old really fast, because in the audio, the narrator would say like, scratch that, and then say whatever. And so that, it was like charming in the beginning, and then it got really old. And there were just some other little things that I'm like, dude, just like cut off your tags. Like, I don't understand. You take a scissor, cut the tags off. They'll never stick out again. These are just like little things that like irked like me, Andrea, personally. The way he said smoothies was, I was just not into it. But those little things aside, I did like the story. I had an enjoyable time with it. I was happy to read a different side to Adib's writing. And that's why I think I'm also excited for his adult book, because I think he has a lot of different types of stories inside of him. And I want to be able to enjoy all of them, not just the tearjerker ones. So yeah, I thought it was a good pick. I'm excited to discuss it. Overall, I liked it. Maybe a little bit less than I thought I would, but it was still a very enjoyable read.
Nice. Christina?
I really love this book. It's probably my favorite YA that I've read with the book club this year. I love theater. I loved a lot. I just really loved what was happening on the page. And my quibbles were pretty much minor. Like, I'm not a really big fan of like characters who make lists, and I think I told you guys that in the group chat. However, honestly, like I took some time. I like was giving myself time to digest it, and it's just that's more of a me thing. And I don't think the list making was quite as extensive as I like anticipated it would be. I just don't love characters that keep a lot of lists. It's just mentally, it feels like a lot of work for me to read that, because that's just not how I organize my thoughts. And so for, very situational things, I'll like, yes, I'm making a list of activities with Tashai and Andrea when we're going on a writing retreat. I'm making a list for the groceries, like that's very specific things. I don't have lists for like every single thing in my life. And so when there's a character that loves lists, I'm like, oh man. And speaking of Sonora Reyes, I read, I forget which one is called, what it was called, but it was like October themed, and that character made a lot of lists, and that was so hard to. I was just like, girl, stop! I'm tired. But I love this
book.
Whit Rivera, something.
Oh, Crystal Maldonado.
Crystal Maldonado, sorry.
Okay.
Crystal Maldonado.
So I panicked because a second I was like, is there a Sonora book I haven't?
No, I'm sorry. That was my bad.
Okay.
I misremembered. But we have read Crystal Maldonado. I've read both of them in book club.
Yes.
I mixed them up. I'm so sorry. But yeah, that would be my only thing. I loved the theater talk. I loved Jackson's a lot. I love the characters. Bowie, I really enjoyed. I kept imagining Bowie like the guy from, I don't watch the show, but Sex Ed. I kept imagining him as the new Doctor Who. That's who I was picturing. And I don't remember the actor's name. I don't even know the character's name, but I like know who he is. And yeah, I just loved it because I loved theater as a kiddo. My high school on base had a theater, and they put up productions. That was like the first time I was able to experience like, oh, we're putting something up that's not like a dancing talent show. And the shows and the plays that they put on were some of my favorites. Like Jesus Christ Superstar is weirdly one of my favorite musicals, musical movies. It started off because like the guy that I wanted to have sex with really loved it, but then I just loved it on my own. And 12th Night also has a special place in my heart. It's one of my other favorite Shakespeare plays to see. I really liked it. I also really enjoy the way that Khorram was able to like layer a lot of things into the story. And I also like the way that he writes his characters in almost like a really like weirdly detached kind of way. Like I felt like I didn't need to be present for every single emotion, every single thing that was going on in Jackson's life. Like I feel like there's something going on here, but we're going to find out. And I was definitely intrigued. I knew that the lists were going to come up. It was like Chekhov's list, like one of these lists coming back. Like, you see Mean Girls, you see the Burn book, and you're like, oh no, this is going to come back somehow. And I like that when it happened, it was very quick. Boom, boom, boom. Like, the sister catches him, and I was like low-key rooting for her. I was hoping that it hadn't been her, and that it had been Cam or something. But I kind of like that, she owned up to it, and it just made sense. It was shitty, but it made sense. And of course, I loved when Jackson had to go into the play and like play the part. I love it when like characters are talking to each other. Like in a play, the scene is meant to be romantic, but they're speaking from the heart. And it's my favorite. It checked off a lot of boxes for me, to the point that even if the character is making a lot of lists, I was like, it's okay, I get it, I don't care. So overall, really positive. I really love the book. And yeah, those are my overall thoughts.
Yay! I'm glad. I'm glad you both liked it. I had things that, yeah, I were personal quirks too. Like same thing. Like I'm a list maker, but not about like everything in my life. I have lists in order to get things done or to remember movies and TV shows that I keep meaning to watch and then I keep forgetting to watch them because there's too much content out there and it's overwhelming. I really liked it too. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was like a fun journey. And Drea, speaking as someone who did have an overlap with my sister, when I was like 18, 19, and she was about 25, that was like the Venn diagram of us being in the same like demographic.
Wait, were you crushing older or was she
Yeah,
crushing younger?
both. Like I would crush older and then she would crush younger, but it would be like in the middle age where it wasn't like inappropriate, but I was way shyer. So the way that that resolved itself is that I never dated anybody because she would date the people first, and then I couldn't go there because they had dated. So
no, baby, too shy.
that's why my eye was twitching because I'm like, yeah, that's how it gets resolved. Is one of the siblings is going through something and dates more than the other, and then the other sibling doesn't date that much. So I was the Jackson in my.
No, I believe it. My sister would have been the one who would have got if we had ever liked the same people, my sister would have been the one to get that person for sure.
Yeah. That's why when I moved to New York, I'm like, nobody's allowed to hit on my sister when she comes to visit me. And it didn't happen since. God bless. We grew past that. But yeah, I'm like, but it was really fun. I really enjoyed myself. I think Adib just does a great job, and a lot of representation, but no one felt like a caricature. Everybody just felt like people who knew people who were friends with people, and everything was so just like kind of like sprinkled in. There wasn't like a spotlight on this is what this character fits in this story and this is what this character fits in this story. They just read like nice, cool, weird people, a lot of smoothie drinking. I think that's my thing too. I'm like, that's a lot of produce. Like, I know your dad buys a lot of fruit, but there's a lot of milk and stuff that goes into that, buddy. Your friends should like chip in a little bit for your household grocery expenses. That's just me. Awesome. All right, well, thank you guys for your general opinions. I did write some questions. I tried to think of stuff that would be like fun to chat about. So obviously Jackson is the protagonist and then Liam is the love interest. So starting off strong with them two, how did you feel about their relationship, like at the beginning of the story and like getting to know them? And did you trust Liam when he starts interacting with Jackson more at the beginning? Because I had my feelings.
Yes, I immediately trusted Liam. I don't know if it was just the way Adib wrote him, you know what I mean? Because yeah, I get how like normally one might be suspicious of this like super handsome popular jock who all of a sudden is like interested in theater, but the way like Liam was written was just, he just seemed like such a sweet, genuine guy, and I loved how obvious it was to us, the readers, that he liked Jackson while Jackson continued to be like so completely oblivious. I love that. And I thought their chemistry that was like clearly there, but I mean, obviously we're only in Jackson's head, but it's like the chemistry is clearly there, but Jackson is so convinced it's like one-sided. I really enjoyed that. That was really fun for me to read. And I really, yeah, I really like them together. And me as a reader, I trusted him from the start. And I I think because I already knew going in that this was going to be like a love triangle kind of situation, that probably played into it, because I never wondered, does Liam like him? Like, obviously he must like him if this turns into a love triangle thing with like the sister. So maybe that was part of it. But yeah, I really enjoyed just their initial relationship, their initial chemistry, and just how sweet they seemed together.
Also, okay, I don't know if I trusted Liam, but I trusted Adib, which is like, I feel different. Like, I trusted the author, especially because in the previous book, there is an instance of like maybe a bully, right? Someone who was more of a bully to the main character, kind of being like, oh, actually, I like you. And then Darius being like, okay, well, we can't go from like, I thought you wanted to kill me to like, now you like me. And so let's take it slow. And so I felt like
in the Darius sequel.
in the Darius sequel, yeah, that happened. And so I kind of felt like, touches of that here. And so I really liked it. And getting to know both of the characters, I felt like what they were kind of like going through as far as like their families and the split ups and their, you know, their dynamics and the split ups that their parents had gone through. I felt like it made sense. I like that Jackson didn't stay too long in the I want to deny it to myself. I felt like, yeah, there was sort of confusion because the spotlight isn't usually on him for those kinds of things. Like, he doesn't feel like another character who doesn't feel like worthy of things. But I like that ended pretty quickly. And between Bowie and him, it was like, yeah, I like him. It sucks. I don't know. And I also like the weird, not the weird. I think it was very intentional. The mirroring of 12th Night and the siblings and kind of like that rivalry for the attention of the person that they like, and the confusion and the lying. I didn't mention in my overall impressions, but I also like deeply enjoyed the representation for deaf or hard of hearing folks, and how Liam took it upon himself to learn more about Jackson. And so I felt like, you know, the trust was there, and then it was like solidified. Like, you have a good feeling about it, and then it was like reaffirmed, you know. And when their whole kind of fallout happens, I felt like Liam had a very understandable reaction. Like, it didn't come out of nowhere. So I really enjoyed their chemistry, their like progression, their relationship. And they weren't like perfect characters, but incredibly relatable teens for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think when we started meeting Liam, I'm like, I wasn't necessarily like distrustful. I just was like, oh, is this the kind of thing where like he's friends with Jackson and then starts dating the sister, and then while dating the sister starts developing a crush on Jackson? Like, I wasn't sure what was going on. But as soon as it's like, oh yeah, you should date my sister, like as soon as that came up, you get Liam's reaction of like, oh, okay, like I can. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, he likes Jackson. That's not, I'm like, oh man, now he's put in an awkward position to date the sister. But as soon as he started learning sign language to be able to communicate with him more, I was like, oh my God, he like loves this guy. I'm like, that's not just a crush. That's like deep feelings. That's like, wow, you see that this person does not feel seen by their own family. That's like some deep shit. So no, I really enjoyed their relationship a lot. I had the same thought, Drea, about the tags. I'm like, what brand shirt do you keep buying where all like the tags all stick up? Like, I don't
I said it because I have these black like overalls, but you know, like the loose flowy like dress kind, that where the tag always does that, and people would come up to me like at work and flip my tag. And after it happened like 2 or 3 times, I was like, I need to stop people touching me. This is the most uncomfortable. And I cut the tag. And I just feel like, you know what I mean? It's just,
he was inviting it. He knew. It's subconsciously. He's like, ooh, Liam will take my tag in.
Yeah.
No, but I did want to say, because you brought it up and I didn't say it earlier, but when I said like, oh, the sister brother thing wasn't my favorite thing, I was also really glad to see it not happen at the same time. like
Yeah.
watching ended, because that would have made me really uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
props
No,
to it.
totally agree. No, I totally agree with that. And I'm glad that there was a very like honest conversation about it. And if it didn't get explained to Jasmine immediately is because she was very dramatic
Was
about
not open to. She was not open to having that conversation just
she was
yet.
not centering anyone other than herself in any of her conversations.
But also, like, they sell shirts now. Like, in this age of social media, they also tagless shirts. Like, tons of shirts don't have that tag. Don't give me that. But I do like the contrivance. I do like having the story there, so that way, Liam, I feel in any other capacity to show physical affection, which I feel like he wanted to, feel like any other time it would have been like strange, or any, like, if he would just come over and like put his arm over like Jackson's shoulder, I feel like that would have been too much. But like putting a tag in, I felt like it worked for what it needed to work, which is like, hey, like there's an interest here. There's like, he wants physical touch. Like he's trying to, later on they like, they touch knees and whatever. And I thought it was a cool, like, I'm just helping you out and I'm not crossing like boundaries kind of
yeah, but there's like a friendship there, because you don't necessarily do that for people you don't know, unless you're Andrea's coworker, I guess. Just like trying to
yeah, for real, that's just weird.
No, but it's because I'm like in the deep South now, and I'm surrounded by Black Southern ladies who also, like, my boss calls me baby, and
okay.
but it's just
there's like more familiarity.
Yeah, it's a different environment. I just have to like embrace it.
You're
but
like,
also cut my tags off.
Thank you, darling. However, I struggle from people invading my space. So much appreciated. Thanks, doll. But also,
like,
stop.
Stop it.
Stop touching me. Okay. So speaking of the sibling relationship situation, how did y'all feel about the dynamic and about Jasmine as a character, like in and of herself? Likes, dislikes, qualms, annoyances?
I mean, I didn't like her. and I honestly, I didn't like her from the beginning. I didn't like her before she ever even did anything truly unlikable. Like, I disliked her right off the bat. And I think for me, it was just and maybe it's just like I am expecting her to be as perceptive as other people naturally are, and clearly it doesn't come naturally to her. But I just feel like if that had been my sibling, I would have been able to tell that he had a crush on his friend. Do you know what I mean? Just from like the way like Jackson interacted, and just, I don't know. It's just, I couldn't, like, when I started reading, I couldn't tell if she was being like purposely obtuse, or if she just didn't give a shit, or if she truly, like, I don't know. And it just like, I got the ick real fast. and she just never did anything to sway me back over to her side. So yeah, for me, she was a no for me from the beginning. Whereas Bowie, I loved. They could do no wrong. They were the perfect bestie side character. I nominate Bowie for the, the super sidekick award.
Side character, yeah.
Yeah, but Jasmine was a no for me. Pass.
Jasmine, damn. I didn't like Jasmine either, but I guess unlike previous like unlikable protagonists or characters, I felt like I understood her. Like I felt like I got it. I do like that they had different reactions to their parents splitting up, and I could understand as an older sibling, I could understand that like self-centeredness that happens sometimes, where like it's about me. You have time to figure things out. You have more things. I feel like for me, Andrea, I think you're also the oldest sibling. It always felt like, okay, well, my parents would always baby my younger sister, and like really helped them out a lot. And so whenever anything would happen to me, I felt like I really had to like up the stakes, because I felt like you'll be fine. We're helping the younger sibling right now. And so as a response, I was like very self-centered child. I was like, well, it's about me. I know that this happened, but it's about me. Like, what's going on? What about me? What about me? And still have my moments. I'm a very selfish person. Ask, my current partner, and whenever we have Taco Bell, if there's an extra taco, like, I want it. I don't care if he's hungry. I want to eat it. It's for me. So, but I feel like I got it. And I think that I was like, more willing to go with the story, where the story was going to take me. And I was like, yeah, like I said it earlier, I was hoping it wasn't her when it came to the lists, but I like that the story didn't really cut her slack there. I like that, it was consistent. Like, she was shitty and then did this really shitty thing, and then just kind of like, well, let's rein it back in. Let's figure out like what we're supposed to be doing. And yeah, I also never got to like her too much, but I felt like I got it. And I'm just glad she's going to college or whatever the fuck she's doing in Denver next year. And just to figure herself out. Like, it's young people. I'm not expecting young people to have everything figured out, least of all in like books, So I like that messiness in her, and she was like more outwardly messy, and like Jackson was more like inwardly like messy. And so I like that opposite side of the coin, and how it worked out, because I could see where she was coming from, where she was like, you're unhappy. You're like a cynical person. Like, I don't know where you're coming at me. Like, her perception of him was completely, he's like, well, I don't see that. You're obnoxious and you're loud and you always want love. And she's like, I don't get what you mean, and then I feel like they kind of came together to a better understanding as siblings. And living in America and being around these like American ass families, I totally get how like siblings like don't know things about each other. They're just not interested in like each other's lives sometimes. Like, they don't talk to each other. I think at a couple of years back, I would have been like, that's strange. But now I'm like, yeah, sounds about right. Sounds about right. Like, why would she care about her younger sibling? She's up her own ass being a teenager in America, But yeah, those are my feelings on Jasmine and Jackson and their dynamic. What I want to hear your thoughts though, Tashai.
She's a fucking bitch.
The younger sibling.
In my opinion, it's like she was behaving real 15 years old for someone who's like 18, going to college and like gonna be living, in theory, living by herself or living in a dorm, and like having adult responsibilities. Like, you really can't read the room. And I also just thought it was awkward right off the bat that she like inserted herself into her brother's life because suddenly she has the hots for somebody and like didn't give a shit about anything he was doing beforehand. Like, that is just so fake, and it's such fake behavior. And then being like, oh, what, you don't want me to come? You don't want me to like, oh, what, you don't want me to like hang out with you? It's like, you literally never hung out with me. You don't give a shit about what I do in theater. Now you're just in my space, and like, it's always about you at home, and it's always about you with your relationships, and now my life has to be about you too. Oh my God. He should have like spoken up for himself though, and like pushed back on her to reassert his space too though. Like, I think he was so used to coddling her because she had such big feelings that it's like he pushed his own shit aside to center her. But it's like, dude, like, you're allowed to say, no, I don't want you to come here. Like, it's me and my friends, we're hanging out. Like, if you're so interested, maybe you should take up theater. And even after everything happened, once she found everything out, to me, it's like, if you're gonna blow stuff up, you blow stuff up like at home. Because your brother's already like othered by his classmates for a couple of things. And then on top of that, now you're gonna like out his lists that he writes for you and make him look like shit. So that like the spreading of the list to me was just like it was like burning the manuscript in Little Women. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I would have figured out a way to like destroy something that she loved. I would take my time to figure out what to do, but I would have found a way to like fuck with her where months from then she would have like found out something had happened. I don't know when and I don't know where, but I would have done something equally terrible to her. Because to me that was real fucked up, because that's like opening up the door for other people to want to like hurt him, and that to me is like, that's not cool. Like they weren't doing anything out in the open, they weren't like hooking up while you guys were together. So I don't know, I disliked her, and I'm like, you could not talk to her for the next like 4 months, and I think you'd be totally justified in that, because she put a target on your back for other people who might be really shitty. There's really shitty people out there who might have like decided to like kick the crap out of him or something. So yeah, I was like, whatever, Jasmine, get the fuck out of here. I'm like, go with your leap year and go to fucking therapy. Figure your shit out.
I did think it was like they made up really quickly, because I felt like I would have held on to that anger like a lot longer.
Oh, for sure. I would have like fed the flame and might just stoke it. Just fucking.
But I also feel like it's one of those things where he's so used to like that dynamic that like, sure, everything's forgiven now, but like in 15 years when he starts going to therapy, that's just gonna come up. He's gonna tell his therapist all about Jasmine, and then they're gonna have problems as adults.
Yeah, but by then she will be, you know, multi-divorced and or discovered she was never straight to begin with, and she was overcompensating, and like, who knows what's her tangled web is. But yeah, he forgave her too soon too. You fucking hold on to that grudge and you feed off it like a tiny rage vampire.
Yeah,
fucking,
but the book needed to wrap up. Yeah, the book needed to wrap up though. I did think that it was interesting that he wasn't like more pissed off at her. I think that he took on like a lot more responsibility than like was required of him. Because he could have talked to her, but she was not open to having that conversation like we talked about before. And you're absolutely right. I feel like the book didn't really like touch on this, but because he's queer, because he's like Iranian American, he's not like he's like double marginalized. Plus he's in theater. He's a fucking theater kid, you know? And he's deaf. He's got a disability. And so
exactly.
And so it's like, you know, putting him out here on blast, I feel was just capital not cool. I wish that, you know, I thought I wanted her to get punished, but I wish she'd been like grounded or some shit, you know, like I feel like the parents were very like, well, you guys sort it out. And I do think it was a shitty thing to do. Like I got it. Like I got how, you know, in the moment we have arrived to this decision, but I do wish that, you know, he had harbored a little bit more darkness in his heart.
To be fair, I did read in an interview somewhere that Adib did write like a breakup list for, I want to say either a sibling or a best friend, or like he has done this in his life. He has been the breakup list writer, and he asked that person permission to like write about that. So once I read that, I was curious. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe he couldn't make it too rough of a fracture between the siblings if this person that he used to write the breakup list is still in his life.
Like, oh yeah, this isn't something completely unforgivable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that adds some nuance to it. In the framework of the story itself, though, I would have paid someone to beat her up. Unforgivable.
No, that was just me. It's because I was Googling. I wanted to know why he chose to write about a character that was hard of hearing. And so I was reading an interview about that. And then he talked about the breakup list too. And I was like, wait, now I want to know more about that.
Yeah. Love it. I only have 2 more questions. I just was wondering, What other character you might have wanted to see more of? Obviously, we all love Bowie. I want to know. I want a picture book of Bowie's looks. But was there anyone else that like piqued your interest that you would have wanted to hear or read more about?
The teacher, the, the theater teacher.
The one who was super, super dedicated to making the gayest shirtless teenage boys. Go.
I just want to know like what is her home life situation, like what is she working out like through her job, you know? I want to know the adult backstory there.
Love it.
For me, it was definitely Bowie. Like, but I feel like this side character was amazing. I felt like we got a lot of them. And they were like really pivotal and just exciting to have on the page every time they were coming, pivotal to like the emotional state that Jackson was in at any given time, and also had their own things going on as far as like college admissions and like, you know, seeing their friend get all up, they, you know, into the relationship cave, you know, where you don't see him for a little while. So I really liked them. I guess maybe Paige would have been fun to have on the page as well. This is like the new like assistant like theater manager. Late addition to the book and the team, but I thought that she was cute, and so I was excited to. Wouldn't have been mad if there was more about Paige, like maybe earlier, so then we could get a little bit more, you know, someone on Jackson's side, you know, on the technical side. And, you know, maybe being more of an ally and, you know, outside of the whole situation, I think Paige could have been another voice of reason or maybe someone to help cover up for him or something like that.
You know who surprised me too? Is it Cam, his ex?
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I just wanted the villain story there. Like in my head, I was picturing him as a mix of that one kid from High School Musical mixed with the guy who plays like Malfoy in the movies.
Tom Felton and Zac Efron?
No, not Zac Efron. The
or the blonde one.
The blonde
Hayes
one.
brother.
Yes.
Ah, okay.
And I think maybe because I was picturing that kind of look, I was like, you know what? I know you're terrible, but I want to know what made you terrible, and then I want to see you break and become unterrible.
Nice. I think his name was Lucas Gabriel. I feel like I knew this. I feel like that knowledge is somewhere deep in my brain.
Taco would know.
That's really funny. I like that. I think I was curious about the teacher and then also the club. Like Jackson was so mad at the club Bowie was in because they damaged like a thing, and I'm like, dude, your heart brings some deep resentment for like
the queer club.
Yeah.
I have to interject here because this was one of the things that like I was saving for. Oh, is there anything else we want to talk about? And I wanted to know what you felt about Jackson's reluctance to be part of the GSA, because I know what my hangups were in joining and still are up to a certain point with the Gay Straight Alliance. This is like a club. Like if you'd never heard of the GSA, it's like a club that exists in high school, and it's supposed to pretty much like bridge the gap between, you know, your students who are LGBTQI plus and then your students who are just not but are interested in being allies to the community. So I thought it was interesting that it came up, and part of me wondered if it was like, well, this thing with theater has to have a fallout because, right, Jackson needs to have something else to fall back on after theater it's not like his entire world.
Yeah.
But it's not the first time. I was intrigued. I would say I was intrigued to see a character be like, I'm queer, but I'm not into that, because that has been my experience. So I kind of want to hear from you all. If, you know, we're done talking about this, we can move it on to later.
Yeah, well, you know, so I was the teacher who ran the GSA club when I was teaching at my middle school. And I know in my middle school, this is not Jackson's scenario, of course. But I know a big problem we had at our school was that you couldn't join unless your parents signed a paper saying you could join. So a lot of kids weren't out to their families, or they were, but their families didn't want them to join a club, so a huge problem we had was kids who wanted to be a part of it but couldn't because of the parental signature requirement. And I don't know if that was just a state of Virginia thing or if that's how it is in other public schools, but yeah, we had a huge problem with that. And then honestly, the kids had such great ideas for things they wanted to do, but then the administration just didn't. You know what I mean? It was a club that they allowed to exist to pat themselves on the back, but then anything that the club actually, like our club really wanted a gender neutral bathroom, and there were plenty of bathrooms that were like that could have been used as a gender neutral bathroom, but like admin didn't want to make that happen, or so it was like a frustrating experience, I think, even for the kids who were allowed to join, because it's like, how much power do you really have? And again, this is not Jackson's reasons, but that's like my own, like, since we're sharing my own personal experiences in viewing like real GSA clubs with like real kids, is that a lot of the times like the people who want to join can't, and then the ones who do often can't like make the things happen in their schools that they want to happen, which can be really frustrating when you're putting yourself out there very visibly as part of this club, only to then not have any of your goals met, as a reward for it.
Yeah. I've never had a club or access to a gay straight alliance in like school. So I've only ever heard of it. And
yeah, this did not exist in any of my schools growing up. It was definitely like me as a teacher was the first time I heard of it.
Yeah. So as far as like the situation in the book, I know not every club is for every person, but I didn't understand his like problems with it just because Bowie was so involved in it. And it's like, because Bowie's such a cool character and is so open-minded and is so supportive of Jackson, that I kind of like thought that there should have been like more support also being extended out to Bowie, because there was so much support like being received. So that was my only kind of thought about the club, was like, oh, if the one thing that you're pissed at them as an entity about is the fact that some scenery got damaged, cool. But if there's no one in there who's like a shit to you, like you can not like something and then not be like actively shitting on the thing that your best friend invests a lot of their time into. So that's where I was like, you don't need to be like that poo caca about it, because like Bowie's like super invested in this thing, What is your POV, Chris?
Well, for me, the situation was interesting because Bowie is a Black person in the GSA, but my experience in the GSA, it's all white kids. And so it's not very like intersectional, and there's a lot of focus on the comfort of like the S students and not the G students. It's always felt very performative of like, yes, we are united. And then, when you are a teacher, a clerk, admin, and you get to kind of like, see that bullying is still very rampant, and, that things are different now. Like in my high school, for sure, extremely accepting students. I mean, and we're in California too. Like we're not like a perfect place, but it is more like liberal in that sense. There are queer students, non-binary students, trans students, and then you just walk around, but there are still like a lot of instances of like homophobia, transphobia, bullying, and violence towards these students. And so for me, it was always like, this is a waste of time. Like this is just the white kids are trying to pat themselves on the back. And then also, like, I guess what irked me is, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I don't know enough to say this for sure, because I feel like I didn't pay too much of close attention to this. But like Cheyenne, the president of the GSA, not being there was also like, of course. So then everything falls onto Bowie, who is our Black student, who is like, you know what I mean? Like making the moves and making things happen. And so for me, I was like, I understood why it was there, because I feel like Jackson and story-wise needed a different hobby or club to fall into, needed to show up for Bowie. but I wish they both had something else that they could have done instead of that, because I do think that the heart is in the right place when it comes to the GSA, but the execution is never as like intentional and as purposeful, and like, you know, the results are not as tangible as I feel like they would like to be. And it's a shame. It's a goddamn shame for sure. But I thought that was interesting. I was like, yeah, fuck the GSA. I'm kidding. Like, I'm sure some schools have an excellent one, but in the ones that I've either been a student or like a teacher or like a counselor in, there's like no, like they painted rainbows during Pride and that was it. Okay, that's not what we need a GSA for. We need it for like the day-to-day harassment that's happening. But the fuck do I know, you know?
I had written, the last question I had like phrased it one way, but then I changed it because at first I was going to be like, well, what do you think Jackson would put on his list about you if he were going to write like a list and featured you on it? But if you're not sure if that's what you want to, if you're not sure to answer that, I also was like, well, what ick would make your list? But
if
you okay, no, I have the perfect answer.
I was going to say, oh, you're going to, okay, go for it.
Jackson would be like, this bitch is going to put you in a book. And then everyone's gonna read it and know it's you.
Jackson, about me,
yeah.
One of the things on my list would be doesn't text back. Yeah, I think that would be like the biggest one, or that would probably be the biggest one in high school for sure.
Doesn't text back. We'll put you in a book. This is already like, I would absolutely break. Like, these are great reasons.
What about you, Tashai? What would Jackson write in the list? What would be on your list? What would be on your breakup list?
I don't know. Probably that I talk mad shit about people. I'm a gossip. Yo bochincheo mucho. Yo hablo mucha mierda a la gente. I like, generally, for the most part, if I don't like you, it's because I think you suck.
In the list, it's like talks mad shit, scratch that, gossips.
It's funny though, because I feel like just from this conversation, like it's like we could put so many things on our lists. Like Christina would take the last taco every time.
Yes, I would.
Tashai takes revenge too far.
Has a darkness inside of her that cannot be reached, that knows no death.
Andrea will decide she doesn't like you 5 minutes in, and that's it.
And does not change her mind.
Forget the other 333 pages.
Cannot let go of a slight, of a personal slight happened very early in your like relationship. Damn. I mean, even
asterisk next to my name. May be practicing witchcraft? Question mark.
I love.
Okay. All right. Well, I was like, I don't know if this is like too much of a let's point out our flaws, but this was a fun, like, everybody has a flaw.
I would absolutely put you in a book.
Who says she hasn't? Who says she hasn't? Not yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Pues mira. All right, those were really fun answers. And I do also stand by Christina, always trying to eat the last taco or cookie or piece of candy. It's true.
Yes,
it's true. It's okay. She makes up for it with a fabulous personality.
There's a lot here. There's a lot of good things here, which is funny. I think the concept of the breakup list is interesting, but ultimately flawed. There's just so much more to people than like their flaws. But I do like that. I do like the interpretation, his interpretation. Like, there's always going to be something wrong, and this is the reason why people will not stay with you. So I like the externalization of that. And I'm sorry. I am sorry that he didn't get to keep doing his list. I know Bowie like judged him for that, but I'm like, yeah, well, like some folks have a journal where they like write mad shit. Like, exactly. we should let people have that, because if not, then he's just internalizing it. And
most of the lists were because of Jasmine. Maybe bitch she needs to get over people.
Maybe know.
She needs to learn how to like overcome her emotional hurdles.
Yeah, at least the lists were private. Like, a lot of people write the list and then they post them
on Tumblr. Yeah, no, we've got it on Tumblr,
It
on
may
Instagram.
not be on list format, but they are breakup lists.
Yes, absolutely. I believe that 100%. And so I was like, okay, this feels like a healthy outlet. I don't know about y'all, but
that's what I'm saying. As soon as things were up on the wall, I would have turned around and been like, let it be known, all of these are Jasmine's ex-boyfriends.
Yes.
Because she begged me to do this because she couldn't get over them.
Yeah, I did like the
she
teacher.
still stalks all of your social medias.
Yeah, I like the teacher call out though. I did enjoy that. I said, good for him. Because if he had done that, I feel like if he'd talked to her about it, I feel like the outcome would have been differently. I feel like the teacher would have reacted differently. Getting called out, sometimes the best way to reach someone is to publicly humiliate them. Yeah. And we should bring that back. People should have more shame.
You got a shame bell.
Yes.
Shame bell. Amira, any final thoughts, y'all? That was my last question. Any other thoughts, comments, concerns?
I thought it was funny, and I think Adib does this in all his books, but I like that he's not scared to show that like his characters definitely feel desire. Like even though that there's no like explicit like scenes in his book, I think it's funny how it's like Jackson goes to like the swimming competitions and is like drooling over himself, or is like sitting next to Liam and is like, yeah, I have a boner now. It's like,
yeah, the pants were too tight and he went into his room and make sure to lock the door just in case. That's what I'm saying. Like there was definitely like I think that there's an understanding that teens also have sex lives. Yeah. Not in the sense of like, oh, they're out here having whatever. I mean, some of them are, but like they do experience like desire and stuff. And so I think that it's cool to see. Like obviously we talk about like I don't want to see the teens kissing, but like obviously also teens have like lives internally, like they feel desire and love and lust and everything. And so it might be on a different hormonal level than like an adult, but nevertheless it happens. I remember in Darius the Great, the second one, I forget what the second one is, but in that
he deserves better.
He deserves better, and he did. But when he had a boyfriend and they would kiss, and I remember it became like a running joke of like, we kissed and I went home and I had to go number 3, and I was like, what the fuck is number 3? And I'm like, oh, never mind. But I was like, oh, that's really refreshing. That's cool to see, and it's not like villainized or like caricaturized or like made into a joke. It's just very matter of factly like, yes, I am a teen. I have someone who I kiss and I'm horny. I'm hot for them. Yeah. And that's really sweet.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm very glad that we went on this reading journey together. I thought that this was a really fun read. I hope Adib keeps writing more books because I look forward to reading more and seeing more things from his perspective. I think it's very beautiful writing. It's very thoughtful presentation of characters. So it was a fun journey. What else are you guys reading? I'll start off because I actually think I'm reading something really fun this time around. I got Julia Fox's autobiography, so I'm reading Down the Drain by Julia Fox. Andrea, she is this like
thank you. I was about
New
to
York.
ask.
She's like a New York personality who became most famous recently because she started dating Kanye West. And him and Kim Kardashian had like gotten divorced, and so she was dating him and wearing all of these like really crazy outfits. And she was also in
I saw pictures. Okay, I saw pictures.
And so she was in an Adam Sandler movie called Uncut Gems, and she also was like very quotable. She's a very like New York it girl, used to like party and go to clubs, and she was like had a drug addiction when she was like 16, and she like ran away from home and like ran away from Italy and like came back to New York. She's lived like a very crazy life that I didn't know anything about. I just knew that she had dated Kanye West and was an actress. But I heard that her autobiography was really good, and I'm about 40% of the way through, and this woman has been through some shit. But she also is a really good writer. Like the book is really, I enjoy celebrity like memoirs and autobiographies, and it's like it is entertaining. She's done some fucked up shit, and she's like been through some fucked up shit. Every time I get to another part, I'm like, Julia, put the drugs down. And nope, she decided she's gonna try heroin. I'm like, Julia, no. But she's great now. Like, she's obviously like famous and she's creating art and she's involved in fashion, which she's always loved. So I'm like, you go, girl. You go. What are you guys reading?
I haven't, I'm in between books right now. I finished a book like a couple days ago. And I haven't started a new book. But I have been watching the newest season of Alone, which is my favorite survival show. It's hosted by the History Channel.
Nice.
And it's the only true survival show.
Yeah.
And I stand by that. Because they're completely alone. Like, they're basically just dumped in like the Arctic with like a bunch of cameras, you know, and the crew comes by like once a week to make sure that like people aren't dead and like collect the SIM cards and give them new ones. So like when stuff happens, you can't be rescued. Like, they have satellite phones to tap out.
Oh my God.
Sometimes they're in like really dire situations and it's like, there's a storm going on. We can't pick you up till tomorrow. Like, do your best.
That sounds intense, but also definitely up your alley of entertainment.
Yeah, it's very intense and like psychologically too, because each person is in a completely different area. You don't know how many people are left. So it could be like just you and one other person battling it out, or there could still be 9 people left. Like, you don't know. So it's like a psychological game too, like not just survival. Because again, there's no crew, there's no people to talk to. You don't know how well or not well you're doing. So, and it's like cold as shit. It's like cold as shit.
Oh my God.
So anyway, I've been watching the newest season. It's on Netflix. So I guess you can put that for me because I'm not sure what I'm going to read next. We'll see. I've been very much a mood reader this past like month or so. So I don't know yet what I'm gonna pick up next.
Yeesh. Intense, but also thrilling. Chris, are you reading anything fun right now?
I'm reading something called what is it called? Okay, Let's Become Fungal, Mycelium Teaching and the Arts, based on conversations with indigenous wisdom keepers, artists, curators, feminists, and mycologists. And I love mycology. I love like, you know, books about foraging and mushrooms. And I thought this one was pretty interesting. I picked it up because I just saw the cover and I thought it was really interesting, and I thought the cover was fun. And it's about how the idea of fungi and that like communal network can inspire teaching, and how historically it has been like an ancestral, you know, tool and idea. And it's very good. It's like a chonker of a book. I got it from the library, and that's what I've been reading. It's kind of been a little bit stressful, so I'm just really enjoying nature reading right now.
Nice.
They don't have Fantastic Fungi on Netflix anymore, and so I'm getting my fungus fix somewhere else.
Love it. Love to see it. I think that's it. Do we have what book we're doing for next month?
Oh yeah, but I already forgot what it's called.
It's called Road to Ruin by Hannah Lee.
Thanks. What I understand about it is that it's like cli-fi kind of, so climate science fiction with a climate twist, like dystopian. Main character looks to be a baddie who rides a motorcycle, has a cool ass helmet. The cover is really cool. I know that there's like a love triangle that's not really a triangle because it's a poly book, and there's a lot of gay people, and it's compared to 3 different shows / movies that I've never watched. So when people say like this is awesome because it has the vibes of XYZ, I don't know what those vibes are, so I don't know what I'm walking into. I think one of them is like Mad Max, something with a Max. Okay, I don't know what that is. Do you think that's a no clue? Anyway, so I don't know what I'm walking into. All I know is that It's action packed. It's a romance, and it looks like a good time.
Awesome.
I'm sure it will be.
But see, internet, if you liked our discussion about the breakup lists by Adib Khorram, read the other books that we've talked about. Read Darius the Great. Read Darius the Great Deserves Better. These are amazing, amazing feats of literature. We 30-somethings wholly enjoyed those books. They resonate.
I think it's one of the few books that I've read, cried, been like, please read this, and both of you actually read it, and now it's like a joint thing we can reference and all three of us know, and that makes my heart very happy.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful books. Very talented writers. So if you liked this chat, go check those out. Different themes, a little more serious, but still wonderful writing, and like still humor in difficult situations. Like there's still humor and there's still light, regardless of whether the tone is a little darker in those. And until then, yeah, we'll see you next time. We'll catch you next month when we discuss the book that Chris and Andrea mentioned that I already forgot.
Thank you for making it to the end of our episode and spending some time with us. You can support Only Lovers Book Club for free by subscribing to our shows and sharing our episodes. Make sure to like the video or leave us a comment, or if you're listening, don't forget to leave us a review. You can become a supporter on Ko-fi or buy books from our bookshop. All those links are in the description below. Follow us on Instagram at Only Lovers Book Club.